Hello and welcome to Harsh Mode. Today we will be attempting to answer a question that has definitely plagued the minds of Pokemon fans for years. Can Pokemon Red and Blue's Brock beat the Elite Four? We all know Brock is the first gym leader in the original games, and many people's first major obstacle. But how did he get his job, and why hasn't he ever asked for a promotion? Does he have what it takes? The skill, the ambition, the knowledge? This is the question we are here to find an answer to, so join me on the journey to either greatness or grief, as we strap in, get hard, and throw some rocks around. Before we start the run, we need to lay down some ground rules. Rules are as follows. 1. Only allowed Pokemon that are used in the actual game by the actual NPC that we are mimicking. Number 2. Pokemon can only use the moves that are naturally learned. That means no TMs. The only exception for this is the TMs that we get from gym leaders, if I decide to use them. 3. HM mules are allowed but cannot be used in battles. 4. No more than 10 levels over the gym leader's top Pokemon that you are about to face. 5. Each necessary battle can only be tried 5 times. 6. Only 1 potion per battle. Now that we have our guidelines, we need to know what kind of firepower we have to work with. Let's start by taking a quick look at what our first Pokemon, Geodude, has to offer. We're going to start off with Tackle, and we're going to get Defense Curl fairly early, followed almost immediately by Rock Throw, which is going to be a very solid rock-typed ability, one of the only that we're actually going to get to use during this run. It only has a 90% accuracy, but its base power is pretty decent, and again, it's a typed move, so we're going to have some advantages there. After that, we're going to get Self-Destruct, which causes a massive amount of damage, but requires you to sacrifice the Pokemon that uses it. We're going to skip Harden, because it just doesn't matter. Earthquake is going to be fantastic, because it has 100% accuracy and an absolute sky-high base power. And it also is a ground-type move. After that, we're going to get Explosion, which is just a better form of Self-Destruct. Next, we're going to look at our base stats. Geodude has a mediocre attack with an above-average defense. Everything else is kind of lacking, but we'll try to make it work. Next, let's find out what our rocky, snaky friend has to offer. As soon as we catch Onix, he's already going to know Screech and Tackle. After that, we're going to get Bind, which is going to be an absolute all-star in this run. Again, we get Rock Throw at level 19, and it's going to be our only typed move on Onix, unfortunately. After Rock Throw, we're going to skip Rage, Slam, and Harden, because Rage is just worse than Tackle, and Slam's accuracy is just too low. Let's take a look at Onix's base stats. His defense is sky high, so he's going to be able to tank an absolute ton of damage, in case you didn't already know that by looking at him being made of rocks. After that, we're going to have a pretty mediocre speed, not the best, but it's going to be way better than Geodude's, so hopefully we're going to be able to outspeed a lot of our enemies. Here I have a pretty complex chart of Pokemon strengths and weaknesses based on their type. Don't worry though, I'm just going to cut to the chase. In this playthrough we're going to have an advantage against Bug, Flying, Fire, and Ice type Pokemon. However, Water, Grass, Ground, and Fighting type Pokemon are going to be our biggest hurdles. And even though we're going to have a hurdle with Water type Pokemon, I'm always going to love Misty. Now that we have all this information at our disposal, let's get this playthrough started. So before we actually get started with this run, we're going to bring back some feelings of nostalgia. Does anybody else get that feeling of when you were 5 years old, just plugged your first cartridge into your Game Boy Color, you turned it on, and the first thing you see is Professor Oak telling you how awesome your adventure is going to be? So because this is a Brock run, we're going to go ahead and name ourselves Brock, but we're going to put a little lowercase tm at the end, just in case anybody decides to infringe on our trademark. As for our rival's name, we're going to take a little trip down memory lane to 5 and 6 year old self, and we're going to name our rival the good old-fashioned, clean, concise, respectful Butt. Everybody did it, and if you didn't, you're seriously missing out. So we're going to start out. Oak is going to approach us in the grass, save us from all this imminent danger, and he's going to take us back to his lab. Now, in order to start this game with a Geodude, I had to use a Pokemon randomizer, and what I did is I changed some data in the game to allow me to start with a Geodude instead of the Charmander in the very first Pokeball. So I'm going to pick up this Geodude. We're going to give it a nickname, and we're going to nickname it Rocky. Normally I'm not big on nicknaming my Pokemon, but because this is a bit of a fun run, I'll make an exception. In order to make this as close to a real run as possible, I made sure that our rival was going to pick Squirtle, because in a normal run-through he would pick whatever Pokemon you were weakest against. So we're going to get into our first rival battle. He's going to send out his Squirtle, I'm going to send out my Geodude, and my Geodude is absolutely going to roast this Squirtle. It's not going to be any problem at all. Our defense is so high, and his is so low, that we're just going to crush him. It's not going to be anything close to a challenge, because Squirtle has yet to learn any Water-type moves. Later on it'll get a little more difficult. Next we're going to go to the Viridian City Pokemart. We're going to pick up 2 Pokeballs and 5 antidotes. The reason I'm picking these up is because I need to catch an Onix as well as an HM Mule. And the antidotes are just in case we get poisoned in Viridian Forest. Nobody likes to have to walk around with poison. We're going to head back down to the fields that we came from. We're going to open up our cheat list, and we're just going to use a quick Game Shark code to make sure that we spawn an Onix with our next random battle. Then we're going to change our item slot so that Pokeballs we just bought are in item slot number 1. After that's done, we're going to go back into the Game Shark, and we're going to turn on Infinite Master Balls. Now what this is going to do is it's going to set that very first line in our inventory to Master Balls. The only reason I do this is to guarantee the catch. Otherwise I could possibly sit here and waste 10 Pokeballs for no real reason. I'm going to go and I'm going to counter this Onix. I'm going to look at it for a second. And I'm going to decide that everything looks just fine. Exactly as I remember. I'm going to catch it with a Master Ball. And we're going to give it the nickname of Sneck. We're going to do the same thing with this Mew, which, again, looked perfectly normal to me. We're going to give it the nickname of Mule. It's going to retain some of its Mew dignity, but it's also going to know that it's a Mule for our HMs. Next we're going to go into the Viridian Forest. We're going to fight our first trainer battle. We're going to take out this Weedle with no problem. He's going to switch to a Kakuna, and we're going to crush that with no problem as well. A lot of this early game is going to be very easy for us because our defense is so high. We're just going to be able to take so many hits, no problem. We're going to go to my home gym, and we're going to find our imposter. He's pretending to be me. I confront him about it, and he gives me a spiel that really sounds pretty familiar. I used to say this myself. We're going to decide to fight him anyways, take back our dignity. He's going to send out Geodude, so he really is committed to the fraud. We're going to send out our Sneck. Unfortunately, he's going to continue to use Defense Curl, so we're not going to be able to keep his defense at minimum. It's going to be a couple levels above minimum, but it's still going to be way better than if we hadn't Screeched at all. We're going to bombard him with some tackles that, even though we just Screeched him about 5 or 6 times, are just not going to do anything. This takes about 15 tackles in order to take this Geodude out, but he eventually does go down. Next, our imposter is going to also send out an Onix, so he's going to mirror us again. He really is committed. His Onix uses Bide, so I'm going to take this opportunity to get a couple of Screeches in. I Screech until his defense also reaches the minimum, and I land a Tackle. Again, it doesn't do hardly anything. So I'm going to switch to Rocky, and we're just going to get this out of the way. Next we're going to be headed out to Mount Moon, and we had something very interesting happen on our way there. As we were clearing out all the trainers, we actually ran out of tackle PP. Because we have no typed moves yet, and because both of our Pokemon have fairly low base attack power, it takes us a lot more tackles to finish most battles than I would prefer. You can see here that Onix has no PP left for tackle, so I immediately switch out to Rocky. Rocky only has 10 PP left for tackle, and I'm really hoping that it's enough to get me through this battle. I was really worried while I was going through this all. So we get this Caterpie painted, he sends out a Metapod, we have 6 tackles left. And I really am pretty worried about it, because even though we do hit fairly hard, this Metapod is going to keep using Harden. We end up using all of our tackles up, and we almost get him down. I'm really hoping for a critical on this last one, but it just doesn't come. So then I have to look at 40 defense curls in the eye, and decide to just be a man about it. I defense curl until the Miltanks come home, and I'm going to have to just struggle down this Metapod. After this fight, obviously I'm going to go back to the Pokemon Center and get my PP restored. After that, we're going to enter Mount Moon, and we're going to immediately encounter one of our favorite Sky Rats, Zubat. Throughout the journey in Mount Moon, I took out about 15 Zubats, and if you watch this little blurb of clips, you're going to see Snec's level slowly rise. It goes from 13 all the way up to 15, and this is almost entirely on Zubats. A trainer here and there, but there was a lot of Zubats. It's just a Zubat genocide, really. We're going to pick up our Helix Fossil because it's just superior to the Dome Fossil. Even though we're never going to use it, it's just a moral victory. And then we're going to head out of Mount Moon. We're going to go encounter our rival on the Nugget Bridge. We're going to take out Pidgeotto very easily. You can see it barely did any damage to me. Snec's going to grow to level 19, and he's going to learn Rock Throw, which is our only typed move for Snec. We're going to take out this Abra, no problem, because it only knows Teleport. The Rattata goes down, deals me a little bit of damage, but not too bad. And then we get to this Squirtle. The Squirtle, unfortunately, one-shot KOs my Snec with Water Gun. So I send out Rocky. We get a couple of good tackles in here. Squirtle, for whatever reason, decides to tail whip us over and over and over. I'm really hoping that our rival remains dumb enough and just keeps tail whipping and lets us win this battle for free. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Squirtle decides to pull out the big guns, hits us with a Water Gun, and one-hit KOs Rocky as well. So we black out, but I'm no quitter. So we're going to get right back into it. Our battle goes much better this time around. We're going to bind this Squirtle so that it can't do any damage to us, and we're going to end strong. So here we are at the end of part 1. In the interest of not having these videos go on for forever, I'm going to end up breaking these videos down into a couple of parts each, probably cutting them off anywhere from the 12 to 15 minute mark. So, at the end of part 1, where are we leaving off? Well, we're leaving off, we beat our first rival battle, we made it through Viridian Forest, we made it through the Imposter Brock, we made it through Mount Moon, we got our Helix Fossil, not that we're ever going to use it, and we made it through our Nugget Bridge rival fight. All of these places were pretty easy. Imposter Brock took a little bit longer than I had expected, even with all of the screeching from Onyx, but we made it through it no problem. We were never really in danger of losing that battle. Aside from that, our Nugget Bridge rival, again we lost the first time around, but we were able to come in with Onyx, and we were able to bind the Squirtle so that it never really had a chance to attack us, and it worked out pretty well. And that's going to be it. So tune in next time, when we're going to have part 2, and we're going to wrap all this up. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.